The galaxy was quiet that day. Ships from 100 different worlds floated above the Council world. Lights flickered. News channels buzzed. Every race, every species waited for the same thing: a reply from Earth. The Council had sent an invitation. They wanted peace. After decades of silence from humanity, they finally called them to the table again. One by one, the seats in the Great Hall filled. Tall beings with golden skin, scaled leaders from ice planets, and floating minds from gas worlds all took their places. But the seat marked Earth stayed empty. Cameras zoomed in. Whispers grew louder. Why weren't they here? The Council speaker stood and cleared his throat. To the lost child of the stars, we welcome your voice. May peace guide your return. Still, there was nothing. No reply, no signal. On a moon far from the Council world, a single man stood in silence. He looked at the stars and clenched his fist. He was human, born in hiding, raised in exile, and he knew why Earth had stayed silent. They hadn't forgotten. Long ago the galaxy promised peace, but it was a lie. Human colonies were erased under treaties. Families were lost. Whole cities disappeared. The galaxy said it was war. The humans called it betrayal. And now, after all these years, they were asking for peace again. But Earth remembered. Beneath the surface of Mars, machines were waking up. Not weapons, memories, records, proof. The galaxy thought humans had vanished, but they had only gone quiet, because sometimes silence is not surrender. It's waiting, and Earth had waited long enough. A ship from the Galactic Council floated near the edge of the solar system. It was a scout vessel, quiet, smooth, and carrying only peaceful messages. Its mission was simple: send a final call, to Earth ask again for peace in return. But just before it crossed the orbit of Saturn, something strange happened. All lights on the ship dimmed. The stars outside flickered, then vanished from their view. Every control screen turned black. For 5 full seconds, the crew sat in silence, watching the empty void ahead. Then a signal arrived. It didn't come through regular channels. It bypassed security, ignored translation software, and spoke directly to the minds of the crew, not as words, but as memory. One crew member dropped to her knees. Another whispered, It's from Earth." But it wasn't a message. It was a recording. Images of human cities burning under alien flags, of treaties written in promises and broken in silence, of voices crying for help and hearing nothing in return. The ship's captain tried to respond, but the system had already shut down. The engines cooled. The ship was gently turned around by forces unknown and sent back the way it came. Meanwhile, back on the Council world, diplomats received the returning ship with concern. But when they opened its files, they found only one line of text: "You." Called it peace. We remember it differently. At the same time, hidden satellites around Earth, long thought dead, blinked back to life. They weren't transmitting threats. They were transmitting history. Across the galaxy, beings started seeing things they had forgotten or chosen to forget. A boy on a distant moon woke from a dream with tears in his eyes, whispering a name he didn't know. A council worker suddenly remembered a mission long classified, where a peaceful human colony vanished under their orders. A scholar found a file buried in the oldest database. Project Silence, do not release. One question echoed across every system: what did we do to them? And far beneath Earth's crust, in places where even time had forgotten, machines began to hum. They weren't designed for war. They were built to remind, not with anger, with truth. The galaxy had moved on, but humanity had never stopped remembering. The stars above the Andromeda Drift shimmered as a long-lost human ship drifted slowly into Council space. It wasn't announced. It wasn't expected. No one knew where it had come from. But what made it truly terrifying was the date printed on its side. UNSS Horizon, launched year 2437. Earth time. That ship was believed to have been destroyed. Over 150 years ago, the Council immediately dispatched recovery vessels. They expected wreckage, silence, maybe answers. What they found instead was something far more unsettling. The ship was empty. No crew, no damage. Everything inside was preserved. Food untouched, systems active, even the lights still flickering. It was like the crew had simply vanished in the middle of their duties. And then they found the core file. A single recording. Played on loop. A human voice, clear, steady, unshaken. If this message has reached you, then you've ignored the warnings. We left signs. We sent memories. But you refused to listen. The voice paused. We don't seek revenge. We don't want war. We want you to remember. The voice faded. In its place, a series of images appeared. Not threats, not weapons, but scenes from the past. Human children hiding in caves, cities left to dust, Earth ships calling for aid that never came. On the council floor, leaders whispered to each other. This wasn't a challenge. It was a mirror. For decades, they had told their people that humanity disappeared because it was weak, that they'd been lost to time, that they couldn't survive in a galaxy full of stronger races. But now it was clear. Humanity never vanished. They had hidden, they had watched, and they had remembered. A quiet warning began to spread across council systems. Ships near old battle zones were reporting glitches. Maps of ancient human colonies, thought erased, were reappearing in the records. Entire systems long listed as abandoned were showing signs of life again. Then came the strangest event of all. A child on a council planet woke up speaking perfect Earth English, despite never having learned it. She said the same line the recording did. They broke the treaty. Remember who we are. Scientists called it impossible. Psychics called it echo transfer. But those who truly knew humanity's past called it something else. The return of memory. This was not the beginning of a conflict. It was the return of a story the galaxy had tried to erase. A story that had now come back on its own. And this time, it was not asking to be believed. It was asking to be seen. On the 12th cycle of the Galactic Moon Accord, something changed. A signal pulsed across every major system, not through regular communication lines, but through the deep net, the forgotten channels, the hidden ones no one had used in over 100 years. The source was Earth. For the first time in 2 centuries, a voice echoed across the stars. Didn't shout, it didn't threaten, it simply spoke. We received your messages. We read your requests. You offered peace, but you never asked for understanding. The voice was calm, human, unshaken. It wasn't speaking to one world, it was speaking to all of them. Across the galaxy, devices lit up. Screens showed human faces, real ones, tired, aged, but clear. Some were old veterans, some were children. Others were simply people, survivors of events the galaxy no longer recorded. Each one told a story. One spoke of how her colony requested aid and was met with silence. Another spoke of a trade route taken by force marked as lawful acquisition by the council. A boy recited names, not of leaders, but of every town that vanished after the last treaty was signed. It wasn't a message, it was memory. Council. Members tried to shut it down, but the message kept playing. Every time they blocked one source, another opened. From moons, from comets, from satellites buried inside forgotten dust clouds, they were everywhere. Then came something no one expected, a real-time transmission from Earth itself. The image was simple. A single human, elderly, seated in silence, looked directly at the camera and said, "We are not here to accuse. We are not here to rewrite history. We are here because you erased us." Across council halls, silence spread. Not from fear, from realization. For years they had told themselves, humanity had chosen to disappear, That Earth gave up. That it was their decision. But now it was clear. Humanity had been waiting for someone to understand what silence really meant. Not weakness, not surrender. Grief. In every system, messages ended with the same line. We don't need revenge. We need truth. Only then can peace mean something. The leaders didn't know how to respond, because for the first time, the humans weren't asking to sit at the table. They were asking if the galaxy was ready to face the past it chose to forget. Day the stars dimmed, no one knew why. Across the galaxy, ships paused mid-flight. Navigation screens flickered. Entire systems slowed. But there was no attack, no announcement, only silence, and a strange broadcast that began playing everywhere at once. No explosions, no demands. Just old recordings. In every language, on every world, the same thing happened. A voice would whisper, before peace there was silence, and before silence there was forgetting. Then images began to appear, grainy, historical, real. They showed Earth cities during the final days of contact, crowded evacuation lines, distress, signals unanswered, embassies closing their doors while people outside begged to be heard. Treaties were shown, signed with smiles, and then quickly followed by actions that told a different story. Each image was time-stamped, each moment linked to an official file. All of it real, all of it forgotten. Council leaders scrambled to block the feed, but they couldn't. The message wasn't coming from one place, it was coming from thousands. From relays no one remembered. From satellites buried in long dead systems. From ancient ships drifting quietly at the edges of space. This wasn't just a message from Earth. It was a network of truth. Then something new appeared. Not a threat, a choice. One by one, Council ships near Earth's border lost control, not through force but through trust. Their systems were gently guided down, no damage, no noise, just paused, and on their screens, a message appeared. Do you believe in peace? Because it is easy, or because it is honest? Crew members wept, not from fear, from understanding. On distant worlds, children asked why their history books had skipped so many names. Scholars compared dates and found gaps they could no longer explain. Soldiers remembered orders they were told to forget. The galaxy wasn't being challenged. It was being reminded, not of war, but of the moment just before it. The moment when someone could have chosen honesty and didn't. From beneath the oceans of Europa to the frozen bunkers of old Martian colonies, humanity had left pieces of its story behind. Now, the galaxy was watching it come back together. And this time, they couldn't look away. The Council had prepared for every possible outcome except silence. No fleets came from Earth, no demands, no warnings, just a single human vessel, approaching the center of Council space at a peaceful, steady pace. It wasn't a warship. It carried no weapons. Its hull was old, worn, the kind used for exploration centuries ago. And yet, every sensor, every eye in the galaxy turned toward it. Because they all knew, this wasn't just a ship. It was an answer. Inside the chamber, delegates from dozens of worlds gathered. Nervous, curious, some still hopeful, others ashamed. The door opened, and one human stepped forward. She was not young. Her face showed years of silence, of memory, of quiet strength. She walked calmly to the center of the floor, looked at every delegate in the room, and then spoke. Not in anger, not in sorrow, in truth. You've sent messages. You've asked us to return, to forget the past, to sign again. But how can peace exist when memory is broken? No one interrupted. You believed we vanished, but we were watching, waiting, listening to how you told the story without us. She paused. You say you want unity, but unity built on silence is not peace. It's comfort. For you, not for those who lived the silence. A projection shimmered beside her. Images of old treaties, destroyed human colonies, Moments that never made it into the history taught on council worlds. "We didn't come to accuse," she said. "We came to offer something else." She raised a small device. With a single press, the entire chamber lit up with holographic memories. Not only from humans, but from the minds of council members who had once witnessed the truth and stayed quiet. Memories they'd buried. Now, unlocked. Some delegates lowered their heads. Others sat frozen, realizing they had believed only half the story, and then the human spoke her final words. "We offer no threat. We ask for no power. We give you something more difficult, a mirror. You must choose what to do with it." She turned and walked away. The ship that brought her rose from the council city without escort and vanished quietly into space. No weapons, no shields, just a trail of memory left behind. And as the stars returned to normal, the council sat in silence, not from fear, but from something far deeper. For the first time in generations, they understood what peace could truly mean. But the choice to build it was now theirs.